What is up, ladies and gentlemen of the online family? JamiroFan 2000 here. We got another episode of JamiroFan Talks About. For the uninitiated of this series here on the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel, this has been my periodic discussion series over the last 8 years, looking at the past, present, and future of Jamiroquai, and they're now over 31 years of musical and influential making. Now, this episode is going to be dealing with two news items, I should say, and it will be dealing with the ninth Jamiroquai album, so be sure to tune in for the rest of this episode to learn the new news about the ninth Jamiroquai album. But let me start off with talking about an unexpected appearance by JK of Jamiroquai on a podcast called the Car Podcast Show, which is hosted on social media by a gentleman by Chris Harris and some of his car aficionado friends. Well, on the new episode 15 of the Car Podcast, JK of Jamiroquai just happened to be a guest on the show, and they covering a myriad of car aficionado topics ranging from merging cars into one perfect car, talking about legislation on petrol forecourts in the UK, and many other topics. And the podcast episode with JK was about an hour and a half long, but at the latter half of the episode, there was a little bit of a ninth Jamiroquai album update. In the final segment of this podcast episode of the Car Podcast with Chris Harris and his friends and JK of Jamiroquai, they did a little segment talking about each one of their favorite songs by the band Jamiroquai. Well, once they got to JK about his pick, he did coincidentally comment that he had been working on a brand new ninth Jamiroquai album. And what was so key about this anecdotal comment by JK was he gave us a brand new updated track list number for the ninth Jamiroquai album. According to JK, from this podcast episode, JK now confirms that instead of just 11 tracks, that they have been working very, very hard on 14 tracks. So that is up 3 tracks from the original assessment of how many tracks that JK had been working on for the ninth Jamiroquai album. And then, of course, he did anecdotally talk about that he had a tour coming up in a year's time, the Heels of Steel Tour 2025, which is going to be taking place between the months of November to December of 2025. And there was also another big surprise, and I don't want to give it away, but there was an appearance by another family member of JK's immediate family. So if you want to check out that podcast for yourself, it is available at the Chris Harris on Cars official YouTube channel. And the second part of this episode of JamiroFan Talks About is about an infographic I actually put out recently with all the known news bits and bullet points of all the news that we currently know for the ninth Jamiroquai album, which, of course, is going to be coming out sometime in 2025. Well, I have updated that infographic with the latest news that came from emerged from this appearance from JK on the Car podcast with Chris Harris and friends. So that infographic does have at least 6 to 7 bullet points of so far the major news that we know concerning the ninth Jamiroquai album. And I did update that on both of the twin subreddits of the online Jamily at r/Jamiroquai and r/the Reddit Jamily, and of course on my social media. So if you'd like to check out that great podcast with JK, and massive thank you to Chris Harris and all the lovely gentlemen at the Car Podcast for an amazing, highly engaging, and highly entertaining podcast episode 15 with JK of Jamiroquai on the show. Like I said, that podcast is streaming right now in a video and, of course, an audio version. So if you'd like to check out the video version of that podcast episode with JK of Jamiroquai in episode 15 of the Car Podcast with Chris Harris and friends, I'll be sure to put a link to that episode of the podcast and, of course, a link to that new updated infographic that I created with all the bullet points of all the latest news that we know for the ninth Jamiroquai album down in the description area of this episode of JamiroFan Talks About down below. Be sure to check that out in your own time. And of course, if any more information comes out, or I divulge it, or I find it, or if more information concerning the ninth album from Jamiroquai comes out that is otherwise not known, I'll be sure to cover it on a future episode here on the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel. But as always, this is JamiroFan 2000. Thank you again for watching JamiroFan Talks About. If you like what you saw, be sure to like and subscribe and ding the bell on your YouTube to stay up to date on all the latest new content coming from the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel as we go into the very busy hustle-bustle season of the holiday season of 2024 into 2025. I will fully endeavor to try to bring you all the latest news as we go into the new year. But as always, this is JamiroFan 2000, and I'll see you really soon with more content here on the JamiroFan 2000 YouTube channel. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care. Thank you again, everyone, for watching my content in 2024. I hope you stay around and watch it into 2025, and I'll see you again soon with more content. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care, and as always, happy holidays.